And we are underway from Georgia. This will be Jamias Williams. They faked the reverse. Williams still has a big hit, a huge block on the perimeter. And he goes all the way out to the 43. Williams is a flat-out burner, but he got some help on that one, a 39-yard return.
We talked about in the open the amount of explosive players. Jamias Williams may be the most explosive. Not very tall, 5'9", just 165 pounds. Watch the block he gets. You're talking about setting the tone, Heyman. Wow. Huge block. Off comes the helmet, and there goes Jamias Williams down the sideline.
I wonder, I got to get another look at that to see if that was Nigel Warrior. You said you want to keep an eye on. Well, certainly Archer had an eye on him there. And now they get it to Dick Davis, the first pass of the game. So Will Bearden continues to be perfect this season. 8 for 8 last week, now 1 for 1 here tonight.
Yeah, he's kind of one of those game manager kind of quarterbacks. He said was perfect last week. This is his first year as the starter, so he's still kind of learning the position a little bit.
Just pick up a 1. They try the other side. That's Singleton. Flag on the play, still on his feet. Let's see what the call is. Dylan Singleton does it on both sides of the ball. Just last week, he verbally committed to join his brother at Duke. So some good news for the Blue Devils fans.
They're sorting out this penalty here, Eamon. Dylan Singleton, both coaches, both Mark Fleetwood and Andy Dyer, called him the best safety in the state of Georgia.
There's a look at our referee, Eric Patterson. So it'll go against the Tigers, setting up 2nd and long. And you know, as we get ready for the 2nd and long, we talked about it. Kyle Davis, a marked man, going up against some big-time cornerbacks from Peachtree.
Oh, absolutely. We talked about Chad Clay on the outside, the Georgia commit, Balin Buchanan, Louisville commit, son of the 2-time All-Pro Ray Buchanan.
So now bottom of your screen to the right, but they keep it on the ground. Williams bounces to the outside, but a great open field tackle by Zane Ashland.
A lot of speed on this defense for Peachtree Ridge. Not a ton of girth up the middle, but they got some guys in that linebacking core in the secondary that can absolute fly.
But it is a depleted Peachtree Ridge defense. We'll get into more of that throughout the game, but some of their big-time players not available tonight, including the middle linebacker Cam Jones, who's been battling a fever. The junior's getting recruited by Mississippi State, Northwestern, and UConn. So now, 2nd and 23rd and long. The pump. Now Bearden's got to scramble. Nowhere to go. He gets dropped across the 30. Matt Bell with the tackle, but no one open for Will Bearden.
That was just a fantastic job by Peachtree Ridge. Look, the crowd's excited. They open up with a pretty nice kickoff, but Peachtree Ridge, a nice job silencing this crowd and forcing the punt.
And Chad Clay back to receive the kick. As we mentioned, Chad Clay has committed to Georgia. It's a high punt. Here comes Clay, and he'll let it drop. Now he picks it up. So good coverage by Archer. And now we get our first look at the Peachtree Ridge offense. After the 37-yard punt, there's a good look at Connor Hayward. Last year he was a wide receiver, now making his 2nd start at the quarterback position.
And we talked a little bit about bloodlines, Eamon. His dad is the one and only Craig Ironhead Hayward. His brother is Cam Hayward, the defensive end for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. And there you see the man, the 265-pound Ironhead Hayward. Look at those old school unis too, Eamon.
Ironhead Hayward, of course, passed away much too soon in 2006 after battling a brain tumor.
Now, talking about Connor Hayward, you mentioned last year he was a wide receiver. This year he comes back as a quarterback. He's not a guy that they want in the pocket. He's best outside when he's creating and making plays with his feet. That's what they want him to do tonight.
And the coaching staff says he can make plays. You can't coach. That gets tipped and almost intercepted. Frank Finch got a hand on it. Singleton was eyeing another interception, but he couldn't get to it.
Tell you what, you don't want to throw a ball high versus this secondary for Archer, as we see right here. He does get outside the pocket. Ball just gets a little bit high, and there you see Dylan Singleton. Again, probably the best safety in the state, almost making the big interception.
Now third and 9, but offsides. Sam Wright, it looked like, would make that Will Cholo a little too eager to get into the backfield. So that makes it a little bit more manageable here for Hayward, because now you put the running game involved. 3rd and 4, Malik Staples, the Louisville commit, the lone back as Hayward goes into the shotgun. And now Peachtree Ridge gives the 5 yards right back to him. Well, you can understand that. Full house, national TV, everyone been talking about this game all week. A little excited.
No question about it. And we got to take the opportunity now to talk about a guy for Peachtree Ridge that's not playing tonight, and that's D'Angelo Gibbs. He's the 2nd-ranked athlete in the 2017 ESPN database. Here's a situation, Eamon, where they would love to have D'Angelo Gibbs on the outside to just throw it up to him.
So 3rd and 9. Twins to both sides.
In this game last year, Eamon, D'Angelo Gibbs absolutely destroyed the secondary for Archer on the way to a 14-10 win.
Hayward now out of the pocket. Pumps. Knocked away. Nick Blakely getting a hand on it. So the Lions will be forced to punt. Looks like Hayward's going back to do the kicking. Singleton back for Archer along with Jemias Williams. It is a dangerous tandem for Archer.
Who do you kick to?
The lefty throws righty, kicks lefty, and it takes an Archer bounce. Rolls all the way out to the 45. So both offenses a little jittery on the opening possessions, but when we return, they will try to get the ball into the hands of the #1 wide receiver in the country.
Geico ESPN High School Kickoff is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
So there's a look at the Peachtree Ridge Lions and the fans getting fired up for this game. The Lions coming off a tough loss last week to Christ Presbyterian Academy, but they have made the short trip here to Archer. They are scoreless after both offenses have exchanged punts on the opening drives.
Talk about Peachtree Ridge's loss last week to CPA. CPA ran the ball 50 times for 192 yards. So you got to think Archer watched that game tape, right? I think they're going to want to establish the run tonight. As good as Kyle Davis is on the outside, I think they're going to try to pound these guys up front.
So it's 1st and 10, Archer from the 45. Singleton and Jemias Williams in the backfield. Kyle Davis to your left in the slot. They swing it out to Singleton. Heads up field, gets dropped right at about the 50. And their number 6, Nigel Warrior, in on the play. 5-yard pickup.
Peachtree Ridge is very happy to have Nigel Warrior in the lineup. We talked about the 7th-ranked safety in the country. He's had a hamstring issue the last couple weeks. Talked to coach before the game. He said he was 100% healthy, and you can already see him making an impact.
So now 2nd and 5. Now they're looking for Davis over the middle, wide open. He makes the grab, but loses his footing at the 10. I'm going to go out on a limb there and say that's a blown coverage.
Yeah, it looked like the secondary, Eamon, got tied up a bit, but that's not a guy you want to lose. It's the #1 wide receiver in the country, Kyle Davis. Bearden on the run, throws a better ball, might have hit him in stride. But you see big number 11, see the ability to track the ball in the air. Made it look very, very easy.
39-yard pickup. 1st and 10 from the 11. They run it with Williams. Dropped by Warrior.
So Nigel Warrior's got to have a big impact because, as you mentioned earlier, two of the best linebackers for Peachtree Ridge, Cam Jones and Breon Dixon, are not in the lineup tonight. Nigel Warrior is going to have to be a force in stopping the run tonight.
There's a look at Warrior, now 2nd and 5 from the 6. And it looks like Peachtree might have jumped. Different look here from Archer and the three backs in the backfield.
Big block.
Well, you mentioned the look, Eamon. That is the beef package for Archer. What they do is they take Quinn Miller, the middle linebacker, Dante Evans, the linebacker, stack them up as fullbacks, put Kobe Smith, the defensive nose tackle, in at right guard, and say, here's where we're running the ball, gents. Try to stop us.
There it is, the beef package on 2nd and 3. And it's Bearden keeping it himself, and he lowers the shoulder and pushes the pile. No signal yet. Looks like he's short of the end zone, but it'll set up 1st and goal from, it looks like, inside the 1.
Well, the beef got a little bit of a push there, as you saw in the second effort.
There's a look at head coach Andy Dyer. First and goal from the 1. Bearden keeps it himself on the sneak, and he's in. Touchdown, Archer.
Well, again, I mentioned it, nothing fancy about that play. Line up the big boys and run it right up the gut. And I really think Archer thinks they can get some push in that interior part, that center guard, center spot, pushing guys off the line of scrimmage tonight for Peachtree Ridge.
Matthew Fritz on for the extra point, but it's blocked. So it'll be 6-0 Archer. But Bearden with the big throw and then the sneak. And the home team breaks through first, but it was the #1 wide receiver in the country setting it up, and then Bearden in the beef package doing the rest. This is the Geico ESPN High School Kickoff, part of the ESPNU Summer of Next, presented by Geico. This is Lawrenceville, Georgia. We have been all over the country this weekend for the high school kickoff. It started in Landover, Maryland, and here we are in Gwinnett County, Archer Community Stadium. 85 north from Atlanta gets you here, and college coaches certainly know their way around this part of Georgia.
As I said in the open, there's a reason the college coaches call this the SEC of high school football. I don't know the reason why, but just a ton of talent. Again, here's Archer, just their 7th year in existence. And already you see with the number of ESPN 300 recruits, 32, the 4th most in the entire country.
And you know, you're in Atlanta, which has basically become the epicenter of SEC football with the championship game here. And you drive here from the airport, you see Auburn bumper stickers, obviously Georgia's bumper stickers, but the passion for high school football and the recruiting that comes with it is off the charts in this area. So Nigel Warrior and Chad Clay back to receive the kick, and they try to kick it away from him. This is Malik Murray, gets out across the 30, and that's where the Lions will start their second drive. 15-yard return for the Lions.
Never get another look at Connor Hayward. He reminds me a lot of Vince Young, both the good and the bad of Vince Young. You know, sometimes he tucks the ball and runs a little bit too quick, but also, like Vince Young, can make a tremendous amount of plays when it looks like everything is just broken down. There's nothing there. He can find a little gap and hit it.
Marquez Jackson in the backfield with Hayward. And he gets it. Running to the right. They string it out for the short gain. Dante Evans, the future Ole Miss Rebel, making the tackle.
Yeah, Dante Evans, you see, he was a transfer this spring from Lake Marion, South Carolina. And you got to think that head coach Andy Dyer was like, wait, we get this guy on our team? One of the top-ranked players, again, going to Ole Miss. Very physical linebacker back there.
And one of the most unique ways to announce your commitment, we'll get into that after this play, is they go up the middle to Jackson. who was short of the first down. But, you know, we've all seen the hat thing and however you committed out of St. X to Notre Dame and Cincinnati. But he lined up 5 cakes. There it is. You got Kentucky, you got Missouri, Auburn, Arkansas, Ole Miss, and he took a bite out of the Ole Miss cake.
Took a bite out of the Ole Miss cake, and then everyone in Ole Miss country went crazy.
So Coach Freeze and the Rebels could have their cake and eat it too, I guess.
He definitely set the bar high for the next way to announce which school you're going to.
3rd and 2 now.
And this is where Connor Hayward is so dangerous. Archer's going to have the perfect coverage on, but again, his escapability makes him very dangerous in these 3rd and short situations.
Trips to the left, but he's looking right now. He's going to keep it himself. And it looks like he's going to be just short as Quinn Miller was the first man to bring him down. It's going to be decision time here for Coach Mark Fleetwood early. And now maybe it's actually... Well, they give it to him. Wow. He got the first down.
It looked a little generous, but...
So...
Take a look at the replay here. Again, this is pretty much a run all the way. There he gets hit by Quinn Miller. Looks like that second effort right there pushing forward picked up the first.
Now he throws back over the middle, complete at midfield. Cam Brown with the grab on the low throw.
That was one of those Gus Malzahn Auburn plays if I've ever seen one.
And now the Lions want to go quickly. 7-yard pickup makes it 2nd and 3. Up the middle to Jackson. And he squirts through for another first down. Dylan Singleton in on the play, but not after Jackson's second effort gets another first down. So now the Lions are in a bit of a rhythm.
Marquez Jackson, just 5'8", 160 pounds. He can hide behind those big offensive linemen and then find a little bit of daylight and hit it.
Hayward keeps it. Spins out of one tackle, but dropped then by a swarm of Tigers. Frank Finch, first man to get there. And you know, Rocky, you mentioned no D'Angelo Gibbs. It looks like Nigel Warrior's just going to play defense as well. We haven't seen number 6 in white out there on offense.
We haven't seen, but also Chad Clay plays a little bit of wide receiver. He's a guy with his athleticism, got him in to try to get the ball to.
Jackson turns the corner, gets dropped late out of bounds. Let's see, there's the flag. So Nick Blakely pushed him out of bounds and then got a little carried away. So that'll tack on 15. Nick, a senior, had 2 interceptions last year.
You see right there, he's out, he's done, and they just slings him out of bounds. And I have to imagine a senior and Nick Blakely knows better than to do that.
And he knew it right away. Probably just lost his bearings as to where he was on the field, but clearly out of bounds.
It's probably one of those instances he knows this is a big-time game. It's on TV, that he's all amped up and ready to go, but you got to know when to pull it back a little bit.
And again, as Rocky mentioned, these 2 teams played last year, and Peachtree won it 14-10. So now 1st and 10 from the Archer 26. Jackson's been doing a lot of the work on this drive. Picks up 2. Carmoni Williams on the tackle.
Peachtree Ridge having a lot of success running just right in between the tackle box. They're right up the middle. Mark Fleetwood, their head coach, said that was their strength of this offensive line. The offensive tackle is a little bit weak, but the interior part really gets a nice push.
Led by the junior center, Mark Lovely. Now Hayward throwing on the run. Dangerous pass complete. That's number 2, Christian Sutton. The officials are flag on the play.
No, it's eligible downfield.
Looks like it's going against Peachtree Ridge. So an eligible receiver downfield. That's a popular topic of conversation here in the SEC country.
Yes, it is. As a former defensive guy, I'm always complaining about when I watch those college games. Those offensive linemen are 3 yards downfield sometimes when they throw the ball.
So that'll move Coach Fleetwood's troops behind the chains. They were on a roll until that happened. So now goes from a first down on the completion to 2nd and 12 from the 28. Again, it's Jackson in the backfield. And it's Jackson to the left. Cuts it up. And then gets taken down by Quinn Miller.
What a nice play by number 37, Quinn Miller. He's actually the number 2 ranked wrestler in the nation in his weight class. Just an all-around football player. Look, no wrist tape, no gloves, just old school.
93 tackles last year, and Archer has a juggernaut of a wrestling program. They pretty much win the state championship here in Georgia every year.
He's a guy that's got 10, 12 schools looking at him. Maybe not the SEC's type of schools yet. He keeps making plays like that, though, Eamon. He may be on the list.
3rd and long for Hayward. Running for his life, still on his feet. And now he gets out of bounds. Dante Evans. There's a flag, though, down. So Dante Evans forces him out of bounds, but let's see what the call is. So a rough drive here for Nick Blakely, the senior, getting called for defensive holding.
Yeah, he just kind of got him around the waist right there. Once you engage, you got to be in front.
There's no doubt who that penalty was on. They threw the flag right at him.
Right at him.
So now some offensive substitutions, mass substitutions here for the Lions. Good thing Rocky broke out the wallet for that program. We got to take a new look here. They got like 5 new players. Matt Bell, 99 in white out there.
Looks like we'll finally get a look at Malik Staples, the Louisville committed running back there, number 21. Longtime friend of his teammate and cornerback Balin Buchanan, grew up together.
We weren't the only ones confused by all the substitutions. The refs seemed to hold them up as well. Now it looks like we have dotted our I's and crossed our T's, or no, we haven't.
Now they're going to send some more guys in and out.
What? I guess they were trying to figure out if it was a first down or not.
Yeah, they did the change, yeah.
I don't see why there would be confusion on that end. So now it looks like we're ready to go. 1st and 10 from the Archer 14. And it is indeed Staples in the backfield. And he gets it. They were ready for him. Will Cholo, the sophomore, with the tackle for a loss.
Tremendous penetration right there by Cholo. Wow, right off, and no one blocked him. Looked like the right guard pulling around just missed him, and Cholo said, "Thank you very much."
So it's a loss of 2. Hayward, low throw, did that get picked off? There's a flag. I guess it was incomplete, no indication, but now we'll see what the flag is. Looks like it's going against the Lions, and once again, it's an eligible receiver downfield. And again, this is only Hayward's 2nd game as a starting quarterback, so the offensive linemen getting used to him as well, you would imagine.
Well, that's one of the dangers of running this, run-pass option kind of thing. All the blocking is like a run play, but the quarterback has the option to pull that ball. And if he sees the matchup he likes with a wide receiver, he can pull it and throw the pass. But again, those linemen can't be downfield.
So a drive that started out with Peachtree Ridge in a rhythm and moving quickly has now sputtered here once they got inside the red zone. They got bailed out by the holding call on Blakely. But now again, 2nd and 18 with 2 minutes left to go in the opening quarter. Haven't really seen him just try to throw it downfield. Now we're moving the ball up a little bit. So we're back inside the red zone. Now it's third down. So
second game of the year for the officials too.
3rd and 12 from the 23. Straight drop back from Hayward, and then he gets outside. Now he's in trouble. Here he goes. Throws back, complete. Christian Sutton with the grab, well short of the first down, as Blakely, who has seen a lot of action on this drive, made the tackle. Now let's see what Coach Fleetwood does. Looks like he's sending out the kicking unit.
Christian Sutton has some MAC offers, Miami of Ohio, Kent State. I believe Alcorn State is also on the list. Small guy, but some nice hands, but not enough for the first down.
Zaniel Phillips out for the kick. Zane Ashley is the holder. 30-yarder. Perfect. So the Lions get on the board. They cut the deficit in half for Coach Fleetwood. A little bit of everything on that drive for the Lions. They have to settle for 3, but they are on the board. The Geico High School Football Kickoff continues tonight on ESPNU at 10 Eastern as number 20 Chandler, coming off a state championship in Arizona, battles number 3 Bishop Gorman. It's all a part of the Summer of Next presented by Geico and also available on Watch ESPN. Gorman is led by Tate Martell, the number 2 pocket passer in the ESPNU Junior 300. He's verbal to Texas A&M. We now take a look at the USA Today Super 25 poll. De La Salle out of California, number 1. Bishop Gorman, who you'll see next, number 3. And Archer here in Georgia, number 10. But the Lions fans have made the short trip, hoping to pull off the upset. Not a shock to see De La Salle up there, top of the country there.
They seem to always be at the top, yeah.
There's a look at Kyle Davis, speaking of number 1, the number 1 receiver in the country, and number 1, Jamias Williams, back there as well. So Phillips try to keep it away from number 1 and number 11, but he puts a leg into it and says, all right, let's see if we can stop him. Again, they go to the reverse, and they get it to Davis, who gets tripped up. That is good on good. Chad Clay on his way to Georgia takes down the number 1 receiver in the country.
Sometimes to tackle the best athlete on the field, you need a great athlete yourself. You see Chad Clay unblocked. Nice play, nice tackle in the open field.
The son of Willie Clay, who played collegiately at Georgia Tech and had 16 career picks and then went on to have an 8-year NFL career. If we say son of former NFL player, it's going to be redundant, trust me. There's a lot of that here tonight on this field.
A lot of bloodlines.
Davis in the backfield up the middle. Picks up 4. We mentioned it. We've already discussed it there just for Peachtree Ridge. You look at Balin Buchanan, the son of Ray Buchanan, who played here for the Falcons. We mentioned Ironhead Hayward. Tony Jones was on those Broncos teams that went back-to-back in the Super Bowl, paving the way for Terrell Davis. And Nigel Warrior, the son of Dale Carter, who was the NFL Rookie of the Year for the Chiefs after a great career at Tennessee. They blow it up, but Davis tries to get outside. But a tremendous job by Avante Ross to penetrate and break up that play. And then his buddies came and brought him down, including Nigel Warrior. Loss of 2.
That's going to be the only way you're going to consistently get Kyle Davis on the ground at 220 pounds. You just got to shoot your gun, get a lot of guys to the ball carrier, because Davis's size is just hard to deal with these smaller DBs here in the high school level.
So now he's matched up on Buchanan, bottom of your screen on 3rd and 7. Do they look that way? Instead, it's over the middle. A lot of contact, and there's the flag. So we talk about Chad Clay with the great tackle. Now he's going to get called for holding, as they were looking for Aramis Bryant.
And then for Aramis Bryant, we got a flag on the play.
We'll get a look at the replay, but it didn't look like there was a lot of contact by Chad Clay.
Pass interference against the Lions.
He's in good position right there, but then there comes the grab around the head area.
Take your pick.
I'll tell you what, watching Chad play all week, Eamon, he's a guy, I think right now potential is his biggest thing. Maybe he doesn't make a lot of the explosive plays, but certainly a high potential guy.
Now they run it. Again, the front four breaking through. Jaden McDonald brings down Williams. So Williams, who had plenty of daylight last week for 5 touchdowns, kept in check so far here, as that'll do it for the first quarter. Tough sledding so far for Williams as the Lions are ready to bear on defense. But right now, Archer leads by 3. As we mentioned, we have the #1 rated wide receiver in this ball game, and he has some tough acts to follow. Percy Harvin won a championship for Urban Meyer in Florida. Of course, Julio Jones, they know well here in Georgia. Robert Woods for USC, and Laquan Treadwell out of Illinois went south to Ole Miss. And here on this field here tonight, Kyle Davis, the #1 wide receiver in the country according to ESPN 300. And Rocky, he originally verbally committed to South Carolina. He quickly decommitted. You had a chance to talk to him this week. Where is he in that process?
Yeah, well, he basically said he had committed just a little bit too early. He didn't realize all that went into that decision. It's not just football. It's the classes. It's the environment, things like that. So he just said, hey, I wanted to pull that back. South Carolina is still in the mix, but so are virtually every school in the country if he wants to go to it.
Got a flag. It's going to go against the offense and push it back 5 yards.
Davis last year was pretty much held in check by his Peachtree Rich team. Just had 3 catches. So far, they're not having a much better impact.
They put him in motion, but they run it up the middle. And again, this Lion front four breaking through. Matt Bell leading the way. 5'11", 250-pound senior. No gain, so now it's going to be 3rd and long.
This is very surprising, and I really believe Archer thought they could establish this run and push these guys up the middle, especially without the all-world linebacker Breon Dixon and also Cam Jones. But so far, that front is doing a nice job.
Michael Terry up front as well, along with Eden Smith. So now, let's see. Davis, bottom of your screen. Make that top of your screen right. With Buchanan on him. Now they put Singleton in motion. Penetration. No sack, though. Bearden gets out of the tackle, throws it up for grabs, and incomplete. Jaden McDonald almost came up with the sack, but Bearden showing some strength. But the Peachtree Ridge defense continues to wreak havoc in the backfield.
They ran a little rub route. I think if he had enough time, he could have completed that ball to Kyle Davis running up the seam. A nice job by McDonald forcing Bearden out of the pocket.
That's Bearden's first career incompletion that we know of, at least as a starter. Last week, 8 for 8, completed his first 3 here, but there it was incomplete, setting up the punt. And Nigel Warrior near midfield. They kick it away from him. And he'll let it bounce. Now he goes and gets it. And that is where the Lions will take over, down by 3. The championship drive to the college football playoff begins Monday at 6 p.m. on ESPNU. Get an in-depth look at who's in and who's out exclusively on ESPNU, and watch ESPN, presented by Capital One. Pretty much right now, Rocky, you live in Ohio. It's the Buckeyes and the field. I got to imagine expectation can't get much higher than that in the Buckeye State.
I'll tell you what, I was up at spring practice a couple weeks ago, and it looks like an NFL team out there. I'm not just saying that. A ton of athletes. Urban Meyer, he gets a lot of credit for being a great coach, but he's a great recruiter. He actually recruited me to the University of Notre Dame. When he comes in your house, you're going to his school.
There's Hayward. Deciding to keep it himself. No gain. Isaiah Pryor. Ron Q. You can't make it any better than that. The future Buckeye, along with Frank Finch on the tackle.
That's how we draw it up. Isaiah Pryor, he plays, it's called the spur cat position, but it's more you're in the box, up on the line of scrimmage kind of safety. Isaiah Pryor runs very well. Just a junior, but the number 38 ranked player in the ESPN 300 class of 2017.
So 2nd and 11. Staples now in the backfield. So they've had Warrior return kicks, but they haven't had him line up on offense yet. And they give it, no, they keep it to Hayward up the middle. Lowers the shoulder and gains a few extra yards as Quinn Miller got carried for a yard or two. Dante Evans in on the play as well. All right, so you got a running quarterback, third, and let's call it 6. What are you drawing up, Rocky Boyman?
Well, I think you got to do what's best, what suits his skill set the most. That's getting him outside the pocket, let him extend that play, and give him the option to both run the ball or find an open wide receiver.
Again, quickly out of the pocket. He's going to run, and he has room, but there's a flag back in the backfield, so this will most likely come back. If it stands, it's a first down in Archer territory, but you can see Malik Staples' reaction. It's coming back. So that's a huge penalty against the Lions.
Well, you can see how dangerous Connor Hayward is. Archer had every one of their wide receivers covered up, locked down, dead to rights. He's able to escape. If not for the penalty, they would have had the first down.
I think they walked off 5 extra yards on that one for a holding call. Now Hayward's in trouble. Spins away from 2 tackles, but then loses his footing and is dropped. Penalties, penalties, penalties. Sam Wright, Dante Evans with the tackle, but you go from a first down in Archer territory to punting, and you see the frustration.
He's frustrated, Eamon, because he's not getting a ton of blocking by his offensive line right now. He's saying, look, guys, give me a chance out there, and I can make something happen.
So Singleton and Williams, again, looking to make something happen in the return game. Hayward finally decides to kick it, a low kick, and they let it drop, and now everyone gets away, so it takes a Lions bounce. I think Williams would like to take that one over and get his hands on it, but Archer leads by 3. We'll have the ball when we get back. Rocky, let's go inside. Break down the film why Kyle Davis is the #1 receiver in the country.
Well, again, it's just his size and athleticism. Look, here there's 2 defenders having dead to rights and then just walks all 3 of them on his way to the end zone. Again, such good short area quickness for a big guy, but he can also do this, Eamon. Look, then I can throw this ball, just throw it up to Kyle Davis, because he can do that, just out-jump pretty much anybody else in this stadium. Go up and make a nice play.
And again, he has our really only big play of the ball game, that 39-yard catch.
Well, look at his legs. He has legs like a running back. You know, the rear end and the quads are thick like a running back, not like a lot of those slender wide receivers.
There's a look inside the evaluation system for ESPN recruiting. Tom Lugabill and Craig Harbert staying up late night breaking down the film, and some former coaches as well.
My mother could tell you that Kyle Davis is a top player just by looking at him. He's that impressive.
Your mother's been a scout for the Bengals for 15 years, right?
That's what I didn't tell you.
They swing it out to Dylan Singleton, the future Duke Blue Devil. Picks up 5. He's going to join his brother there.
And Dylan Singleton hardly comes off the field. We haven't called his name much on defense, but I know we will tonight. But they try to get him the ball as much as they can. And running back position, wide receiver, you name it.
2nd and 5. Stacked receivers to both sides, but they run it to Williams. Finally gets some daylight for a few. Looks like he gets the first down. DeAndre Bird with the tackle. 7-yard pickup, that should move the chains. And they do. Again, as we mentioned, Williams, 5 touchdowns, some huge big-time runs.
Yeah, 164 yards on just 15 carries. As you can see, again, Coach Andy Dyer talked yesterday, just give him a little bit of daylight and he's gone.
Now Davis is going to have to make it up on his own, and that will not happen. As Buchanan comes all the way up to make the tackle for a loss. It looked like the Lions saw that play coming right from the get-go.
You can tell his dad, Ray Buchanan, taught him a little bit how to play the run as well. Came up with a nice stick on the outside.
Loss of 4. Following his dad to Louisville.
That's why this is such a great matchup tonight. Yeah, you got Kyle Davis, the #1 wide receiver in the country, but then you got 2 cornerbacks, Chad Clay and Balin Buchanan, also Nigel Warrior, maybe the best entire secondary in the state, maybe in the state history.
2nd and 14. Again, pressure, but he steps up and he has a man open behind the defense and he hooks up with it. Bryant is gone. 66 yards, Bearden to Bryant. And they got behind Nigel Warrior.
Heyman, I'm not so sure Nigel Warrior just underestimated the speed of Aramis Bryant flying down the field. Now, we know Nigel Warrior had a little bit of a hamstring issue. Not sure if that was something to lay an excuse on or not, but Aramis Bryant flew right behind him.
So Bryant, the senior, having a year to remember so far as the extra point is good. Last week, an 80-yard touchdown catch, and now this week, in this one, he just goes 66 yards against one of the top safeties in the country. So Bearden showing the arm strength, Bryant doing the rest. Well, Will Bearden and Aramis Bryant have pumped some life into this stadium as Archer takes a 13-3 lead on the 66-yard hookup. And we talk so much about Kyle Davis. Maybe the Lions paid too much attention to him.
Well, that's exactly the benefit there. Everyone's eyes are on Kyle Davis, and everyone takes their eyes off of Aramis Bryant. And it looked like, again, Nigel Warrior just underestimated the sheer speed of Bryant. Bryant, a Kent State commit. He'll go play football for the Golden Flashes with Paul Haynes, the head coach. Nice play, but again, that's one thing. If Kyle Davis, everyone's eyes are always on. He's almost a decoy of sorts. And then when you're watching him, some of these other players can play too.
So now Chad Clay and Nigel Warrior back to receive the kick. See if Warrior tries to make a play, but obviously they're going to try to keep it away from him, and there's a fair catch signal made by Christian Collins. So again, we talked about the Lions not at full strength tonight. There's a look at D'Angelo Gibbs, who could certainly be making some plays all across the field.
Yeah, D'Angelo Gibbs, the #2 athlete-ranked junior class in the nation on the ESPN 300. As I said earlier, last year's game, he completely took the game over. There was a great battle between him and Jamias Williams on the outside, and D'Angelo Gibbs won most of those battles. They certainly miss him. As you can see, Eamon, haven't been able to get much vertical up the field, and this is a guy that can stretch a defense.
They have struggled on the offense. They're going to run it up the middle with Jackson. Nothing doing. Kobe Smith, the Kentucky commit, breaks through for the tackle. You see Kobe there. He is a big man.
He's a large human being. That's right. 6'4", 305 pounds. Returning starter. He'll play for the Wildcats here next year.
So no gain. 2nd and 10 as we approach 7 minutes left in the first half. Hayward again rolls out, dumps it off. That's complete to Malik Robinson. 11-yard pickup. Jamias Williams in on the tackle. So they give him the first down. Now they're going quickly back to Jackson. As it goes out near the 40 where Dylan Singleton makes the tackle. Last year Singleton had 89 tackles.
I'll tell you what, Dylan Singleton reminds me of a guy I played with in the league, Bob Sanders. From that deep safety position, he can come up and hit you without even breaking down. He just, boom, right up on the line of scrimmage, doesn't break down whatsoever, shoots his gun, and you saw it on that play.
They go back to Jackson, right back up the middle. Not as much of a hole this time. 2-yard pickup. So 3rd and manageable for Hayward and this Lion offense.
Tell you what, if I'm Peachtree Ridge, I'd try to get Chad Clay, the Georgia commit, who's starting at cornerback. I'd get him on the field and try to get something in the outside perimeter passing game going.
Well, they are going to pass, or maybe not. Hayward lofts it off, but overshoots his man, looking for Cam Brown. And when they watch the film tomorrow and on Monday, he's going to maybe think maybe he should have tucked that one away.
Yeah, he has some running room, certainly enough to pick up the first down with his speed. But even with that, a better pass would have been a first down as well.
Just looked like he changed his mind at the last second.
Yeah, it was a little hesitant. And remember, he is a first-year quarterback. He's not exactly fluid. He's not exactly used to doing it. I thought he may have second-guessed himself.
So Powell and Jamias Williams back to receive. Now. And that's just Hayward taking way too long to punt it. They had penetration. Isaiah Pryor broke through. He's very, very casual on his kicks, and that time it was costly. This is not a design fake.
No, not a design fake, but you see Isaiah Pryor on the outside. He gets whiffed, and you see the athleticism. That's not the play that Connor Hayward wanted at all.
Archer takes over in great field position. Right there at the Lions' 40. And again, they stack the receivers to both sides. Williams in the backfield. They swing it out to Davis, who has plenty of real estate to work with. Warrior brings him down, but not after. And there's a flag, so maybe he grabbed the face mask as well. So it looked like about a 13-yard tackle, and they're about to tack on 15.
The Warrior flew up and had a nice tackle, but to your point, he may have gotten a little bit of face mask. So look, he comes up, but yeah, the left hand pulls him right down. That's an easy call.
So that makes it 1st and 10 now from the Peachtree Ridge 14. And they go back to the same formation. This time they run it, but Williams loses his footing behind the line of scrimmage. See him shaking his head. No problems last week, different story this week against the Lions.
It's one thing when you watch Jamias Williams, sometimes he goes up, he has a great jump cut, but sometimes he likes to use it a little bit too much. I think Andy Dyer, their head coach, would like to keep going a little bit more north-south on that one.
The number 11 athlete on the junior ESPN 300. Bearden with time over the middle to Davis, who drops it. Balin Buchanan with a good breakup.
Fantastic play on the ball by Balin Buchanan, because that should have been a touchdown. Bearden put it in a great place. See on the replay. Closes, and just like a great cornerback does, he plays to the whistle, finds a way to pop that ball out and wrestle the arm away, the right arm there by Kyle Davis, so he couldn't get it on the recatch.
This would be a moral victory for Peachtree Ridge if they could hold Archer to a field goal. It's 3rd and long. And now they might get some help. There's a timeout. So Coach Andy Dyer gets the timeout, it looks like, before the flag. And they want to talk things over on 3rd and 11. 3rd and 11, I think you might want to try to figure out how to get the ball to number 11.
That would probably be your best bet.
And the Geico ESPN High School Football Kickoff continues on ESPNU, and watch ESPN Sunday at 2 Eastern. It's a Sunshine State showdown as Miramar squares off against number 22 IMG. It's all a part of the Summer of Next presented by Geico, and I know Rocky's going to get home to Ohio tomorrow, get his popcorn, get his soda pop. He's going to get all fired up to watch 2 Notre Dame commits, Tony Jones Jr., the running back, and Spencer Perry, the defensive back.
Spencer Perry's a nice player. I've seen him. A lot of the guys in the Cincinnati area talk about him.
They both play for IMG. Miramar, the alma mater of one Geno Smith, so obviously they have some good players go through there year in and year out, so that should be a good one down in Florida tomorrow afternoon. Here in Georgia, they've been waiting all summer for this one. A lot of buzz about the rematch. And Archer thinking this is the year to get back to the Georgia Dome and win the state title in year 7. They call it Team 7. But right now they're looking for 11 yards and maybe a touchdown.
And this is a significant down here because if they can pick up the first down or put one in the end zone, this is pretty tough for Peachtree Ridge with how much they've struggled on offense.
They go away from Davis and looking for Singleton, but good coverage by Peachtree Ridge. Avante Ross with the coverage. So now let's see what the Tigers do. Bearden still out there. He's going to be the holder. Matthew Fritz on. Looks like it's going to be about a 31-yarder.
Looks like they were missing the long snapper. You need him on a field goal try.
Snap is good, the hold is good, and the kick is good as well. So Archer tacks on 3. They now lead by 2 touchdowns on Chad Clay and the Lions. So Bearden just misses the touchdown pass. They settle for the field goal. All right, guys, looking forward to all that. And, to tack on to that, we talked about how fertile this area is. There is the state of Georgia recruits in the ESPN 300. And E.J. Price, we haven't had a chance to talk about tonight.
And there you see him to the right of that box. He's a transfer. He came in from Central Gwinnett here, went through spring practice. And as you said, he's number 50th ranked player in the ESPN 300. He's being recruited as a tackle, but here tonight he's playing left guard. And Coach Andy Dyer said, look, we need some more push up the middle, so why not put the big fella in there?
Clay gets dropped at about the 22. E.J. Price, originally verbal to Georgia. He has decommitted from that and opened it all up. Michigan State, Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn. Some of the schools supposed to be in that conversation.
He's a Bulldog fan.
So the Archer fans pretty happy so far, up by 13. Hayward in the Lions offense has had a hard time getting it going. Penalties have been their own worst enemy. There's a high tackle by Will Cholo, the sophomore. He's been blowing up some Lions plays here tonight.
So he walked the offensive guard straight back into the lap of the running back on that play.
No gain, sets up 2nd and 10. 4 minutes left to play in the first half. Now Hayward in the pocket for now. Gets out. This time he will keep it. Pryor, though, trips him up. Isaiah Pryor in the open field, showing you why Urban Meyer and the Buckeyes are so excited to have him in Columbus in a couple of years.
Isaiah Pryor, just a junior, 6'2", 190 pounds. I anticipate he's going to mold into a linebacker. If he's just a junior, he's already 190 pounds. By the time next year comes around, he'll be over 200. By the time he comes up as a freshman to OSU, he'll get on that meal plan and that lifting plan. He'll be 230 before you know it.
Now Hayward again forced out of the pocket, still looking to throw. Over the middle, nice grab for a first down. But there's a flag on the play. And Christian Sutton, you see the reaction. And you got all 4 offensive linemen, 5 offensive linemen plead their case.
Well, and here's the deal, Eamon. You can tell the offensive line isn't used to playing with Connor Hayward because they're not used to how much he moves around back there. So they think he's staying in the pocket. All of a sudden, he shoots out to the outside, and now they have to hold to keep their block. Just a continuity thing at this point.
Josh Johnson, 58, not hiding his frustration. Thinks it might be against him.
It really has been the penalties. Connor Hayward has done some decent things that just make something out of nothing, but most of the time they've been called back by penalties. You see a little bit of frustration.
Oh, so it wasn't a hold. Now it's Coach Fleetwood's turn to get frustrated with the formation call.
Hey, move to it.
And our referee tonight, Eric Patterson. The officials are from the Atlanta Area Football Officials Association. So that'll make it 3rd and 12. They empty the backfield, swing it out to Staples. Gets one block, but they fight that block off and make the tackle, and Nick Blakely limits it to a 4-yard gain.
Tell you what, Nick Blakely's made some plays tonight. He's not ranked in our ESPN 300, but he's made a couple plays. That was a nice one there, shedding off the blocker and getting the guy out of bounds before he pick up the first down.
So that'll be another punt as we approach 3 minutes left in the half, and let's see if Hayward has a little bit more of a sense of urgency to get the kickoff here. Not really, but he gets rid of it. Williams going back on it. Finally picks it up, gets it to Singleton. And Singleton's got some room at the 50. They cut off his angle at the 35, and they drag him out of bounds there, but the reverse works. And now there's a late flag. This could come back. There could be 15 yards coming back on this because some extracurriculars involving Hayward. An Archer player got up in Hayward's face, so let's see. And there's Nigel Warrior. You mentioned, Rocky, was not 100% coming into this ball game.
Yeah, he had the hamstring issue, dealing with that for a couple weeks.
But again, there is that late flag. In the middle of the field, Hayward got hit by an Archer player. Not sure if it was late or high, if they're calling on both guys. Yep, they grabbed Hayward's face mask. Yep. So a silly play nowhere near the ball is going to cost Archer 15 yards of tremendous field position, but of bigger concern for Peachtree Ridge down the road there is the health of number 6.
You got to wonder on a hot night like this, is it a cramping issue? Is it a deal where he maybe strained that hamstring?
But we talked to Coach Fleetwood this week, and you could hear in his voice that he was a little hesitant to really push Nigel here tonight. Week 2, a lot of football left to be played. You wonder if that means if his night might be over.
Well, I talked to him before the game, though. He said yesterday Nigel went through, ran a bunch of hundreds, and looked really good out there. So he was not hesitant to play him tonight. But that is always the worry. It's the beginning of the season. This isn't even a conference game for them, but certainly want to have him for the long haul.
And again, already going without D'Angelo Gibbs and Breon Dixon, the big-time junior linebacker. Cam Jones, another junior linebacker, getting looks from BCS schools. Unable to go, but they're ready to stop the run in Williams there. DeAndre Byrd and Avante Ross with the tackle. So the Archer offense starting to get into a rhythm here with Bearden in the passing game.
I think they're starting to chip away at that defensive front for Peachtree Ridge a little bit. You can just tell maybe starting to get some hands on the hips a little bit, maybe getting worn down. And I know Archer's going to keep pressing on the gas to keep that run game going. And then if you stack the box, boom, it's going out to Kyle Davis.
They've also been aided by some great field position. And now Bearden with all day looking deep down the middle, and the #1 receiver in the country adjusts and make the grab. Another big gain, Bearden to Davis. 41 yards.
And there again, Davis just makes a play look absolutely effortless.
So the Tigers are knocking on the door one more time here in the first half. It'll be 1st and goal from the 7. Davis in the slot. Brian, Bobby, your screen. They both have touchdown catches, or big-time catches. But they run it, and DeAndre Byrd makes the tackle. So no gain on the play. Now Davis goes to the right. Go to the I formation. Again, they keep it on the ground. For a moment, they had some daylight, but Jaden McDonald again with the penetration.
And also Nigel Warrior, so it looks like that hamstring must be okay. He came out like a bullet from that center field position.
So now again, looking to hold them to a field goal. 3rd and goal from the 5. Davis, top of your screen, twins to the left. Make that Davis in the slot. Now they have him covered over the middle, and they force the incompletion to Williams. So now let's see what Coach Dyer and the Tigers decide to do. And they've made the decision to go for the field goal. Send out Matthew Fritz.
A couple nice moral victories for Peachtree Ridge's defense these last 2 drives. This game could have really gotten out of hand. Forcing them to field goals.
22-yard attempt. And it's good again. That makes it 19-3 for the home team with 42 seconds left to play in the half. And again, this has already been a huge weekend of high school football on the Geico High School Kickoff. Coming up later tonight on ESPN2, the #1 team in the country, going up against Trinity out of Texas. And then Bishop Gorman with the #2 pocket passer, Tate Martell, in the ESPN Junior 300. He's on his way to Texas A&M. You can see him in action against Chandler, Arizona. And then tomorrow, the action comes to you from Florida. Miramar against IMG Academy. Of course, back to that Bishop Gorman matchup. Interesting thing for Gorman, they're now coached by Kenneth Sanchez. He's taking over for his brother Tony Sanchez, who's now the head coach at UNLV. So that Gorman program has emerged as a perennial power, and they play everybody. So the Lions would really go for a big-time return here to try to get something done in the final 40 seconds and change. Malik Murray, #3, back at the 5. Another short kick. This is Clay. Gets outside. Gets out to the 35. So not tremendous field position, but decent field position with 39 seconds left and a quarterback who's been a bit shaky, Rocky.
Well, he has, but right now he's their best option. They don't have anybody on the outside to go to, so they're forced to just allow him to create back there and move around and give him that run-pass option.
So you're going to try something here from the 35 with 39 seconds left instead of just taking it a knee?
I'm a gambler, yeah. I'm going to try to go for something, try to get somebody up the field.
It's a good thing they didn't give you that Bishop Gorman game out in Vegas then. So they are going to go throw it. Looking for a big play here. Deep over the middle. And they make the grab. Malik Murray. And the Lion fans who've made the short trip have something to cheer for late in the first half. A 52-yard pickup, and Peachtree Ridge is in business.
That's kind of my thought process on that. You throw the ball up, your defense is playing good. There's probably not enough time. Why not try to take a shot to get yourself back in this game? And Murray comes up with a fantastic catch.
And now the Tigers take a timeout. Want to talk things over and make sure everyone's on the same page here all of a sudden.
Hayward just launches this ball, throws it up. In amidst 2 defenders, Murray somehow comes up with the football.
Malik Murray, a senior. You know, Rocky, this is what high school football is all about. 2 powerhouse programs who know each other very well. All the fans are out here on a great Friday night. This has been a great atmosphere.
Well, it has. And, you know, you talk to some of the players for Archer. There's some trash talking going on between these 2 schools all during the week.
Well, they also know each other very well. They go to all these camps together and the opening, and, you know, they say, hey, come on, man, I'm going to Georgia. Why don't you come with me? I'm going to Louisville. Where are you going? I mean,
and that is how the recruiting game has absolutely changed. Like you said, these guys know each other because of all the camps and the social media. And also here in Gwinnett County, they have such a great youth program. And I know Andy Dyer talked about that, Archer's head coach. A lot of these guys, they come up throughout the ranks. They know each other. They play. Then they go to their separate high schools, but are very familiar with one another.
So now 1st and 10 from the Tiger 15. Hayward with Staples to his right. Now they empty the backfield. And there's another flag. One big step forward followed by 5 yards back. It's been the theme tonight here for the Lions on offense.
It really has. And you can tell that, A, this is the second game of the year, so you still got some of those kinks you're working out. And also now with a quarterback in Connor Hayward, that's his first year behind center, so some few things they're working through.
Empty backfield, 5 wide receivers. Hayward looking to get out of trouble, throws it away. Let's see here.
And I'll tell you what, Archer's done such a good job on defense of having a controlled rush, not getting their guys way upfield. I know their coaches talked about it all week. The worst place you can be is behind the quarterback, so you allow those lanes open up. They've done a fairly good job of not allowing those lanes. They got 22 seconds left in this half to try to do that same thing.
Jackson in motion, Hayward all by himself. Looking for 6, lofts it up. Great play. Bryant's done it on offense. Now he does it on defense, looking for Christian Collins. But Bryant, 2 picks last year, keeps it a 19-3 ball game there.
Watch him track the ball. Nice job. Gets the right hand up. And see what he did? He brought his hand right up through the middle of the 2 hands of the wide receiver. Great concentration. Bats it away. Pulls the arm away in case he can't get it on the second try.
Now 3rd and 15. Make it 3rd and 20 with the movement. The big man, Duke Holland. When you're 6'5", 270 and you move early, they're going to see you.
They're going to see you. And you can just tell the frustration on offense right now for Peachtree Ridge. It's 1 step forward, 2 steps back here so far in this first half.
And now the Tigers can really sort of move back and soften up their secondary with 16 seconds left. Peachtree Ridge just 1 of 6 on 3rd down conversions. 3rd and 20 ain't a great percentage right here. Over the middle. Oh, he lays out but can't make the grab. You've been asking for him, Rocky, looking for Clay.
Finally got him in the slot there.
Now it looks like they're going to go for points here as Hayward comes off.
You see he steps up in the pocket. He has Chad Clay splitting the defenders right up the seam, just out of reach.
So this will be quite a kick for Zaniel Phillips, 42 yards. Everything's good, but he's going to push it. No good. Looks like Jamias Williams and Will Cholo collided. So that'll certainly be something to keep our eyes on for the second half.
I'll tell you what, even though they didn't score on that play, in the second half, they've got to get Chad Clay on this field because the whole dynamic of that offense changes when you have the Georgia commit lined up at the wide receiver position. They've not been able to stretch this field vertically at all, so you can see that Archer's defense is just playing, sitting back, waiting, keeping everything in front of them, and coming up and tackling Connor Hayward.
So the penalties once again stop a line drive. They settle for the long field goal attempt that was no good, and that does it for the first half. Will Bearden and the Archer passing attack in midseason form. They lead 19-3 at the half. Let's now join Matt Schick in the studio.
Thank you, Eamon. Archer, the home team in Lawrenceville, Georgia, having its way with Peach.
Kind of power to have Penn State in the top 5. You saw the Big Ten well represented there, Ohio State, and Jim Harbaugh, of course, certainly, you know, young man, you want to go play in the league? Well, A, I played in the league, and B, I coached in the league. So where do you want to sign?
Right. We talked about in the first half, but it's so important, the bloodlines. You can't fight genetics, and if your dad was a premier athlete and played in the NFL, his offspring has a very good chance. They always say the number one factor for if you're going to make it in the NFL is if you had a previous family member that played in. There's certainly a lot of guys out here tonight.
There you go again, telling me I should have gone into being a lawyer instead of a sportscaster. Thanks a lot. Well, Peachtree Ridge will get an early crack to get the offense on track after penalties really were the problem. This will be Clay. And he is brought down at the 23. So here's all you need to know about Peachtree and how the offense went for them in the first half. They kicked the field goal with 1:29 left in the first quarter. That was after a 55-yard drive. On their 5 other drives, they gained a total of 65 yards, scored 0 points, and that was over 16.5 minutes. So it was really just that one drive.
But the big thing for them, Eamon, was the penalties. 9 penalties for 75 yards. It seemed like every time they just started to get a little momentum, get a little bit of flash going, there came a penalty, which, again, is very emblematic of the first couple games of the season, especially in high school.
Well, they give it to Staples, who was met right away by Mr. Quinn Miller. And then Dante Evans and Singleton joined the party as well. No gain.
I'll tell you what, Quinn Miller may not be on the big schools list right now, but they may want to reconsider. Just a football player. Okay, maybe he doesn't run the 4.5 40 or whatever, but he's around the ball all night tonight, come up and laying hits on guys. We talked earlier in the first half, too, about number 2 ranked wrestler in the country in his weight class, knows how to use his hands, knows how to use leverage. That's all important things for a linebacker.
All right, that's 2 wrestling references. Were you a wrestler?
I wasn't. I should have been. I probably would have been a better football player.
Hayward once again escaping pressure. This is complete for a first down, and Peachtree Ridge fans will be excited. No flags as Christian Collins makes the grab for a 12-yard pickup. He's been targeting Collins often here tonight.
See, once again, moving the pocket and getting him outside, allowing him to scan the entire field. And just a nice flick there. You can see the arm strength hitting Collins for the first down.
Bryant with the tackle. Moves it out to the Lions 38. Now they try Jackson on the ground. He slips short of the 40.
And there's just not much going for the run game. You know, Archer runs a 3-3 stack defense. And okay, you say, oh, they only have 3 guys on the line of scrimmage. How can they be so stout? Well, what it is, how you gain an extra man is you're twisting guys, you're bringing guys, linebackers are coming. It's very confusing for the offensive line to try to figure out who's who and who's blocking who. And you can see the effectiveness here tonight.
And once again, a penalty. This is... We have seen a few of those against Coach Fleetwood's offense. Legal procedure.
And that was their downfall last week in their loss. Sloppy play, had a bunch of penalties, turnovers. You know, fortunately, it's kind of crept back here in the week, too.
Now they're lined up here for 2nd and 14. Hayward steps up. Nice grab, but he had to go back to the ball and couldn't run afterwards for Malik Robinson. Pick up a 4, so that'll set up 3rd and 10. Looks like the Lions again back to the no huddle.
And you see Connor Hayward. Mark Fleetwood said, look, he's probably not going to be a quarterback in college. He's going to continue to get bigger. He was 5'11", 185 as a sophomore. Now he's up around over 200 pounds. He may even play linebacker at the next level.
Steps up over the middle. Nice grab. Christian Sutton in traffic. Picks up another first down. Pick up a 12. So 2 12-yard pass completions so far on this drive for Hayward and the Lions. Now if they snap it now, Cholo will be off. Did not get off the field. No flag though. And Jackson with a burst of speed right up the middle. Cholo back out there, so they got the defense on their heels right now early in the second half. Now Hayward with time. Throws into traffic, very lucky to get that one back as Dante Evans had it in his chest.
And that's one of those plays, Eamon, a quarterback coach will tell you, those late throws across your body like that are never a one you want to make.
That is a lot of red.
Yeah. And a lot of red around there, too. See Dante Evans, we talked about earlier how he made the commitment with the cakes.
Now 3rd and 3. Hayward on the play fake, and they were ready for it. He spun right into Quinn Miller. And Brandon Duggar as well, and Hayward slow to get up.
And they better do a better job, because you can see he's taking a lot of hits tonight, Eamon. You can't have your best player getting hit so much.
And now that him limping influences the decision, it's 4th and 3. You'd wonder if he wasn't limping if they would go for it. He's also the punter, remember that. So now they got to send out Phillips to kick. You would think in plus territory, down by 16, you might consider going for it. Surprised they're not taking a timeout to have him get some treatment from the medical staff.
Right.
But here comes the kick. Fair catch signal made by Singleton at the 14. So the Lions get into Archer territory, but they don't come up with any points. So Bearden and the Archer offense back on the field when we return to Georgia. There's a pretty good chance one of these Peachtree Ridge players will play on Sunday one day and follow in the footsteps of Cameron Hayward or Drew Butler. Kevin Minder holds the school record for tackles at Peachtree Ridge. He graduated in '09, and Bradley Roby, a first-round pick at the cornerback for the Denver Broncos. So maybe D'Angelo Gibbs, Nigel Warrior, who knows? Someone on that sideline might be lining up on an NFL Sunday one day in the near future.
Well, their head coach, Mark Fleetwood, he said it again when I talked to him before the game. He said, that guy's going to play on Sundays someday. He's that level of talent.
Again, no D'Angelo Gibbs. Nigel Warrior has been limited. Breon Dixon out, and now Hayward slow. Of course, that's his brother Cameron Hayward playing for the Steelers. Nigel Warrior, the safety. The number 7 safety, Dale Carter's son. You talk about bloodlines in the NFL. Dale Carter had a tremendous career at Tennessee and then with the Chiefs.
His uncle, too, is Jake Reed, big-time wide receiver for years with the Vikings.
There goes Jamias Williams up the middle. And you wonder if that's going to be the order of the day here in the second half for Archer to kind of salt this one away and get that ground game going that had no problems last week in the opener.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, in the first half, they had a ton of problems. Williams with 8 runs for only 10 yards. I thought for sure they would establish that run a little bit more. I think they'll still try to keep chipping away, though.
There was a flag on the play, and this time it goes against Archer.
From their own 10.
So that'll make it 1st and 15, and there's a look at E.J. Price. Running behind big E.J. and Taylor Stein and Cole Craven. Levante Rosto coming up with the tackle.
Say one thing about E.J. Price, when you watch his game film, like any good lineman, Eamon, he doesn't want to just block it. He wants to finish it. Right? He wants to push it over the pile. He gets to the second level extremely well, and I know that's what the college coaches are absolutely loving about him, is his athleticism.
Bearden swings it out to Singleton in the flat. Makes one man miss, and Warrior comes up. Drops him out of bounds, but Singleton with a little shake and bake there on the perimeter. Pick up a 7.
Taken out of bounds by number 7. Ackland. Coming up 3rd down for the Tigers.
.66", 320, E.J. Price. Now 3rd and 5. Looking at pass block now. Short drop off over the middle. Michael Kouassi with the catch. That first down. DeAndre Bird with the tackle.
We mentioned the first half, but you got to remember, E.J. Price, he's a transfer. Here he is blocking. And that's one of the reasons I think they moved him to guard instead of playing tackle, because there's a little bit more thinking you got to do, a little bit more in sync you got to be to play tackle. They put him at left guard and let him blow some holes out.
Well, Price and his colleagues open up a hole there for Williams, and he darts through it for a first down. Pick up a 10.
Price had him originally committed to Georgia. He then pulled that commitment. He's still looking at Georgia. They're still in the mix, but also are some other schools, Tennessee, Michigan, to name a few.
Now Williams gets to the outside. He gets across the 40. Avante Ross with another tackle. 18 in white's been busy. Matt Bell in on the play as well.
And he's going to have a decision, Jemias Williams, at the second level. Is he going to play cornerback or running back? Now, Andy Dyer, the head coach, said he would much rather play cornerback.
Here he is getting to the outside. Warrior up there as well, though. Agile Warrior.
Here we go. We see E.J. Price pulling around. See him getting to the second level. Nice shot. I'd like to see him sustain that block a little bit more, but you can see the athleticism on the pull, getting out there and getting to the second level, getting the linebacker.
Good enough for another first down. Now they swing it out. Catch made. By Juwan Powell.
And you saw there on the weaknesses of E.J. Price where it said pass protection. I would agree with that. The other thing, too, is he plays with the high pad level a lot. You watch on his highlight film, the guy's 6'6". Those guys sometimes don't want to bend, but to play at the elite level, the next college level, he's going to have to find a way to make sure he gets that pan level down, is a knee bender and not a waist bender.
Now they swing it out to Kyle Davis. Talk about a decision to be made. He has already picked the date for when he will announce October 23rd. So there will be some fans around pretty much every college tuning in for that one. But I want to go back to your analysis of Price. High pad level. I mean, it sounds basic, but what exactly do you mean?
Well, it just means he plays high. So what that does is allows smaller players to get leverage on him and come up underneath him. If he sinks that big body down a little bit, that's where his power base is. He can run block better. He can pass block better. That's just something he's got to continue to work on. He has the God-given skills.
Singleton. One spin move away from taking it to the house, but Balin Buchanan brought him down. They'll go up against each other in the ACC. Louisville tackling Duke.
He's pushed around. See, he's just, he's right there. As I said earlier, he wants to finish you. He's one of those dirty offensive, not dirty in a bad way, but I mean one of those guys that is a former defensive player like myself, you hated going against because you knew they were going to block completely to the whistle.
The pump. Now Bearden's going to move and run. Jaden McDonald with another tackle. Brandon Hendricks as well in on the play.
Number 30, McDonald. So the third down and short.
So now third and short as the Tigers are methodically moving their way down the field here. Looking to really break the will of this Lion club that's undermanned, and now they get some help. Wow. Darnell Jeffries, who they think will be a very big-time player there, just the sophomore jumps. Coach Fleetwood was saying that Darnell Jeffries is going to get a lot of bail in the next few years.
Yeah. He's a guy that's, they're trying him out at the offensive tackle position. They think he's got that kind of athleticism and they could certainly use some help on the offensive line here, as you can see tonight. But also the penalty. That's the 11th penalty for Peachtree Ridge tonight. Just something that, and I know it's early, I know it's game 2, but you got to start to work out of that. Can't keep shooting yourself in the foot.
So 1st and 10. They go right up the middle. Singleton inside the 15, and the defense is starting to wear down right now. Price and his buddies really taking over at the line of scrimmage. 15-yard pickup.
This is very similar to last week. In the second half, CPA really just kept chipping away, and you start to, again, you see some hands on the hips there, see some dejectedness. They got to find a way to stay stout here. They still got a whole half to play.
Williams able to get it down to the 11. McDonald again with another tackle. Matt Bell as well. This drive has been exactly what Andy Dyer and his staff was looking for here. First drive of the second half.
Again, it took them a whole first half. I thought Peachtree Ridge played great against the run in the first half, but now you can see him starting to get wore down.
Back to Williams, who gets outside, lowers the shoulder, shows some of that explosiveness and toughness.
And one thing about Jemias Williams, Andy Dyer said, if there was a 24-hour football game, Jemias Williams would want to play. He just loves the game that much. plays both ways, never asks to come out, always wants to stay in and just play ball out there.
You can find another partner for that ball game. 3rd and 2. Is this the beef package?
This is the beef
Quinn
package.
Miller and Dante Evans.
Kobe Smith at the guard position.
They go to Williams, who gets inside the 5. I guess since Evans is in there, you got to have beef and dessert, so he can bring all the cakes he still has.
There you go.
Pick up a 2, and that'll set up 1st and goal.
And I'll tell you what, as a former defensive player, there's nothing like just getting the run, just more demoralizing, getting the run pounded at you time and time again. That's what Archer's doing right now.
Well, the Lions able to hold them up there. Zane Ashley and Matt Bell forcing 2nd and goal. So we approach 3.5 minutes left in the 3rd. Davis goes to the top of your screen. Williams behind Bearden. And the Lions take a timeout. Coach is probably noticing that they're a bit gassed here, so there's a break in the action. We'll take one as well. Archer knocking on the door, looking to salt this one away in the 3rd. A reminder that the Geico High School Football Kickoff continues tonight on ESPNU at 10 Eastern. Number 20, Chandler, battles number 3, Bishop Gorman in the desert. It's all a part of the Summer of Next, presented by Geico and also available on Watch ESPN. Chandler coming off a state championship in Arizona. And the folks from Arizona smelling upset right here. Archer smelling the end zone. 15 plays, 81 yards.
We're talking about demoralizing. A 15-play drive will do it.
And Williams punctuates it with the touchdown run.
Well, it took Williams a half and a few minutes to get going, but he finally does punch it in for the touchdown on a 16-play drive, just right up the gut.
There you see the relief / frustration as he gets into the end zone. And the extra point is perfect. So Archer builds on its lead. Jamias Williams finally had some daylight. He takes it in from 4 yards out. All Tigers right now in Georgia. This is the Geico ESPN High School Kickoff, part of ESPNU's Summer of Next, presented by Geico. After our ball game here, we head out to Las Vegas. Chandler against Bishop Gorman, but there you see Jamias Williams and E.J. Price celebrating another touchdown as they build their lead to 26-3. And as you mentioned, quite a difference in that one drive as opposed to the first half for Williams.
Yeah, just 10 yards in the whole first half on that drive alone. Nine runs for 47 yards and a touchdown.
And here's Nigel Warrior on the kickoff return. Pryor running him down, but he can't trip him up. He slowed him up enough to bring him down. Sam Brown finally with the tackle, but certainly the Tiger fans were waiting for this game. The red zone is packed. Everyone got the memo to wear red, and they're enjoying it.
Yeah, it looks like Connor Hayward is going to come back out to quarterback for Peachtree Ridge. He got shaken up at the end of the last drive. Where I think you're right, Amy. Had he been healthy, had he not been dinged up, they would have and should have gone for that.
There's a pass over the middle, dropped. You know, Rocky, we talk so much about recruiting and rankings and lists. Let's just get back down to the essence of high school football. You played at a big-time program in Ohio at St. X that, you know, has a passion for football. What are your favorite memories of just lining up against Moeller or Elder and the whole school comes out to watch that game?
Yeah, we had a game my senior year versus Moeller, 20,000 people in the stands, believe it or not, and game goes to double overtime. You know, we wind up not going for 2, which we probably should have. Wound up losing that game, but those are the memories you have, just playing in front of those big crowds. And, you know, it's nothing different than what you're seeing here tonight. These crazy fans, all these students out here having a great time.
Good job by the Peachtree Ridge fans making the 20-minute trip. Doesn't look like they'll get the outcome they were hoping for, but they were not 100% and are not 100%, and they have bigger fish to fry down the road when you think about getting to the playoffs and winning a state championship. But here in Georgia, you will hear more from D'Angelo Gibbs and Nigel Warrior and this gang down the road.
It really is a shame we did not get to see D'Angelo Gibbs play. I mean, he's again, he's #2 ranked athlete in the junior class in the entire country.
Now Hayward airing it out. Tremendous coverage by Jemias Williams. So there you mentioned the decision to be made when he gets to the next level. And now it looks like Hayward might be done as well.
Yeah, he looks a little gimpy, certainly. But you can see on that play right there where he just threw it up, that was a play in last year's game versus Archer. D'Angelo Gibbs on the outside. He jumps up over Jemias Williams, has a bunch of big-time catches. They were missing that. You can see him shaking his head. He wants to be out there.
Same thing.
Absolutely.
Singleton back to return the punt. He lets it drop. Thought about it, and then he decided otherwise, and he lets it go where the Lions down it. And the championship drive to the college football playoff begins Monday at 6 p.m. on ESPNU. Get an in-depth look at who's in and who's out exclusively on ESPNU, and watch ESPN presented by Capital One. Some big-time Week 1 matchups to talk about on Championship Drive, and I still think in year 2 we're in a situation, Rocky, and you can argue with me if you want, where pole position is a big factor. I mean, TCU coming in at 2, that's an advantage over a team that's, say, back at 10 or 11, I think.
Well, absolutely, and we saw it with Florida State last year. They come in highly ranked, and they continue that all throughout the season until the bowl game.
Here we go. Red, King, fine, time's even.
Williams with the short run. Darnell Jeffries, the sophomore, who they have high hopes for with the tackle.
How great was the college football playoff last year's first rendition? I don't think the committee or anybody could have drawn it up any better with that kind of finish.
Well, you say that. Try running that by in Waco or Fort Worth that they couldn't draw up any better. You can go by yourself on those trips.
There's 2 cities in the country that hated it. Everyone else loved it.
And the debate and the weekly poll, although obviously certainly it's tough to explain how all of a sudden TCU was in the playoff, wins a game, and is out of the playoff. I mean, the committee stood by that decision, but you cannot argue that debate week in and week out created interest for the inaugural college football playoff.
And it worked out because Ohio State came on and they wanted winning the whole thing. Had they got blown out in their first playoff game, there really would have been some controversy.
The way Ohio State played in those 2 games, tough to argue that Ohio State didn't belong in there.
Right.
But I still curious. I thought Ohio State got a huge benefit of the doubt for their loss to Virginia Tech. Well, because of the backup quarterback situation.
That goes back to the old BCS days. If you're going to lose, it's better to lose early, kind of thing. And thing with TCU and Baylor, a lot of times what hurts them, especially Baylor, is their schedule. They just don't play enough ranked opponents outside of their conference, and it's going to be the same thing this year. They're going to have to go undefeated.
And then you could be a huge cynic, not that I am, and say, well, the fact that maybe TCU and Baylor aren't exactly glamour programs and Ohio State is. I mean, I think if I'm a Big 12 fan, I'm going to have a hard time saying that if that was Texas or Oklahoma, they would have been jumped.
Well, look, you're right, but remember what it comes down to. The committee, it's a subjective thing. There's no computer, all that, so the committee, of course, is influenced a little bit by history and the stature of Ohio State versus a TCU or Baylor.
Well, back here, Darnell Jeffries. As you see Coach Fleetwood making a slow walk. Down on the field being looked at by the trainers. 6'4", 265 as a sophomore.
And he's a guy that next year, if we're doing this game, he's going to be a guy that's in the ESPN 300 probably in the junior.
List. Yep.
Right. You mentioned his height and weight. Mark Fleetwood talked this week about just his athleticism. They're going to probably try more on the offensive line.
Lions certainly cannot afford another injury. as they get ready to play the rest of their schedule.
Yeah, it's a shame. They come in tonight with a lot of their really, really talented players. We talked a little bit about Breon Dixon, the linebacker. He's got a shoulder issue. He didn't play. Cam Jones is sick. He didn't play. D'Angelo Gibbs didn't play, the number 2 ranked cornerback and athlete in the country in the junior class. So you add up all that. That makes it tough sledding. Then you throw in first-year quarterback.
Certainly hope the talented young sophomore will be okay and be able to play the rest of the games. And there you see Hayward, who's not 100%, seems the last few drives. And
well, he's taking a lot of hits.
Yeah.
You know, that offensive line has got to protect. And I know he's a run around, and he's going to take more shots than your average pocket passing quarterback. But either way, they got to do a little bit better job of blocking for him.
Now 51 seconds. They give it to Singleton, running full speed, gets met at the 40. Checked up. E.J. Price didn't like the way Chad Clay flew in on that tackle. I guess you could joke that maybe Chad Clay's just upset that E.J. Price decommitted from Georgia.
That's right. Hey, man, we're supposed to go to school together.
Teammates. Duke is getting a good one with Dylan Singleton, no doubt about that. His brother's already there. He's going to be a starting safety as a junior.
And that's a program that's on the rise. David Cutcliffe is doing such a great job down there. But I think you see Singleton, you see how good of a player you go. Duke, well, why isn't he going to an Alabama or an Auburn, both schools that wanted him? But I think the fact that his brother DeAndre is a starting safety there gets a little bit of connection there, make that transition to college a little bit easier. I'm sure that was a fact.
I just think you scared the daylights out of that Duke coaching staff, because you're saying, why is he going? Not what you're saying, but like, why is he going to this school or that school? Well, this school or that school might be wondering, hey, how come we're not in on him? And everyone here is only verbal. No one has signed. None of these commitments are done. That's all on signing day. He seems pretty solid, obviously, on wanting to play with his brother. But, when you play up, other schools come calling. You know that, Rock.
Absolutely. Well, we've seen guys decommit already here.
So that'll do it for the third quarter. The Archer fans sensing the second win of the season. They're up 23 points. This is the Geico ESPN High School Kickoff, part of the ESPNU Summer of Next, presented by Geico. Back here at Lawrenceville, Georgia, ready for the start of the fourth quarter. The Archer Tigers and their cheerleaders enjoying a 23-point lead. Right now in the second half, it's been by the ground. In the first half, it was through the air to Kyle Davis and Aramis Bryant. And there you take a look, Kyle Davis, the #1 wide receiver in the ESPN 300. And interesting, they're all undeclared. N'Keal Harry, number 56 out of Arizona. We will see him next for Chandler against Bishop Gorman. And on cue again, Rocky, we are batting 1,000 tonight. We talk about the Buckeyes. Pryor makes the play. We talk about Davis. They go back to the passing game. But he's lived up to that ranking here tonight.
Well, he certainly has. We talk about how early on he committed to South Carolina, then decommitted. A little bit of controversy. His dad came out in an Alabama newspaper and said, well, Georgia probably isn't the place for him to go because they run the ball more than pass, and that, of course, sparked some controversy. And then, I did not say that sort of deal, but there's certainly any options open for Kyle Davis in the future.
Did we mention that there's passion for recruiting here in Gwinnett County, Georgia?
They're going to fight over him, I'll tell you what, and they should.
That's the other thing nowadays. I mean, the fans, you can't have NCAA rules against fans contacting you via Twitter or Instagram. Fans are all over you on Twitter nowadays.
Well, and how about Kyle Davis? He has 6,600 Twitter followers. This kid's, 17, 18 years old. Twice as many Twitter followers as Rocky Boyman. So it tells you, he's, like you said, and what's one thing Andy Dyer, the head coach, talked about? Yes, it's great, all this recruiting. It's good for the kids. He says it's also exhausting because these players are getting bombarded 24 hours a day, 100% of the time. People following him on Twitter, hitting him up and this and that. It's kind of exhausting, again, for just a high school kid at times.
And it's exhausting for these head coaches who have to manage it. And they go for the quick kick. And they better did that touch Warrior. Luckily, Warrior got out of it for Peachtree Ridge, but Coach Fleetwood was telling us the same thing. He was telling us during a 2-week period in the spring when the college coaches can come to campus, 3 to 4 week period, between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. It is non-stop, 20 schools a day, in and out. Looking for film, looking for reference. I mean, it's a great problem to have because it means you have good players, but managing it, it's got to be a second job for these coaches.
Well, and that's the thing is a lot of these high schools, as big a program as Archer and Peachtree Ridge is, they don't have the support staff that, say a college does, where they have SIDs and they have people that kind of take care of it. A lot of times it's on the head coaches to get the film and talk to the recruiters and all that. So it's an exhausting job for these coaches.
Marquez Jackson with the short gain. He looks like he's enjoying it.
He is, and again, I talked to him on the field yesterday at walkthrough. A tremendous young man, a very humble guy. For being the #1 wide receiver in the country, everyone's talking you up. You're the best. Very grounded guy, talking about, hey, it doesn't matter if I get the ball all the time. I want us to win. Those are the kind of things you want to hear from a big recruit like that.
Hayward changes directions, flag on the play. And I think that's one of the big reasons why Andy Dyer came up with the idea to bring in a character coach to work with his players because of the attention and all the other things they have to deal with. And as you mentioned with Twitter and how big recruiting's become, you make one misstep and that becomes a big deal.
It is. It's just so many distractions now. And those are in a good way. You'd be able to stay in contact with guys, and these players across the county, across the state, across the nation, they know each other, and that's a good thing. But see right there, smile on big Kyle Davis.
You sure you don't want to run down there and get him to announce right now so we can make news? Why wait till October 23rd?
Right.
Come on. Let's do it now on ESPNU. You can run down there with your 5 cakes.
I think Kyle Davis will probably have something a little bit even more grandiose in style than the cake thing.
So 2nd and 13, they empty the backfield. Hayward quickly out of the pocket, heads upfield with room to run. Dropped at about the 28 by Tayon Palmer, 16-yard pickup. What do you think Hayward at the next level? Is he an offensive player or a defensive player?
I think he's either a running back or possibly a linebacker. Again, he's just going to get bigger. Obviously, his brother has the defensive pedigree, was a defensive end at Ohio State, now a big-time defensive end for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he's just going to continue to grow, but the athleticism will stay.
His brother Corey plays hoops right here at Georgia Tech, so as we mentioned, the son of the late Ironhead Hayward, who was an All-American at Pittsburgh, and there they are.
There's Cameron, just signed that big 6-year, $59 million deal in the offseason. That'll work, right?
That'll work. Corey at Georgia Tech and Connor now the Peachtree Ridge quarterback. You wonder if Ohio State has the inside track since that's where Cameron went. Now Hayward dropped. Quinn Miller again. He might start to receive some attention on Twitter.
I'll tell you what, of all the guys that were, not the unranked guys, he's made the biggest impression on me tonight. Rushing the passer, tackles very well, great vision, uses his hands well, all those things you need out of a great linebacker. And I know Andy Dyer said, yeah, he's getting some looks. 10-12 schools are looking at him. No offers yet. I think those amount of schools that are interested in him is going to increase after tonight.
His mailman's bag might be a little bit heavier on Wednesday and Thursday.
They don't do mail anymore. It'll be some electronic message, Twitter thing,
I bet you still got your shoebox down there with all the mail you got.
I think I may have it, actually, yes. Envelope with a little gold helmet on the end. That bad boy came in the mail. He's, wow, okay, here we go.
So Christian Sutton in the offense. Come up short. Forcing another punt. Was there one offer that surprised you or made you actually think the longest about not going to Notre Dame?
Well, actually, both Michigan and Notre Dame offered me before my senior year. And once those two schools, those are the only two schools I had any interest in going to.
As we see Singleton able to come up with the loose ball and get to the 40.
Yeah, so those are the only two schools that I wanted to go to. Once your top two schools want you, then okay, everyone else is kind of shut off. I grew up a Notre Dame fan. It was a dream come true. There's no way I could look back and not go to that school.
I think Brian Kelly wants you to say that a few more times in the final 7 minutes and 54 seconds. We're back after this.
Geico ESPN High School Kickoff is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Welcome back to Lawrenceville, Georgia. The Tiger fans were fired up for this ball game before the game, and certainly they have been fired up with the results as they are up big 26-3. Eamon McEnany along with Rocky Boyman, and Rocky says, in the interest of full disclosure, I have to let everyone know that this is a double-domer booth. That, you know, Rocky's wondering every way why he's going to, we're getting all this Notre Dame conversation, but you know, you mentioned Michigan. They were the other school that offered. Jim Harbaugh has them in the top 10 in recruiting. Did they make you think at all? Was there anything interesting or unique that happened on your visit to Ann Arbor?
Absolutely. They were one of the first schools that showed interest in me. And I remember I went on my visit, unofficial visit. I'm there with my mom and dad in Lloyd Carr's office. Knock on the door. Who walks in? Bo Schembechler. My dad's jaw about hit the ground. From that point, he was like, "This is where you're going. This is unbelievable." We grew up with Bo Schembechler and certainly very excited. He just happened to walk in. Right? It wasn't planned at all, right? But a very cool experience. I remember watching Charles Woodson in practice at Michigan. Charles Woodson's still playing in the league, for God's sake, 20 years ago. Pretty cool.
Now, we mentioned you're from St. Xavier, St. X in Cincinnati, a powerhouse program there in Ohio. No interest, no Buckeye flavor there back in the day, getting in on it?
You know, it's funny, Eamon. Ohio State didn't actually show much interest in me until both Michigan and Notre Dame offered. And then, ring, 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 I get a call, and hey, here we are. And I was like, where you been, kind of deal, you know what I mean? But in full disclosure, look, again, I grew up a Notre Dame fan, Tony Rice and all those guys back, Chris Zorge, Michael Stonebreaker, remember those old Irish guys? And that's where I wanted to go my whole life. I told my second grade teacher I was going to go to Notre Dame and be a captain, and I couldn't not follow through when I had the opportunity.
7.5 minutes left here for Archer, up by 23. And again, another penalty. There's a delay of game. It's been a busy night for Eric Patterson and his crew. Giving Coach Dyer plenty to talk about at film as they get ready for Game 3 next week.
Andy Dyer was such a pleasure to talk to. He talked about the Foundations program as alignment, assignment, and play your tail off, right? That's all he wants those guys to do. Don't want you thinking out there. Get lined up and just go play.
And Beard dropped from the blind side. Avante Ross had a very productive night for this Lions defense. Comes on the blitz and gets there for the sack. Last year, Archer won 11-4, lost to Colquitt County in the state championship game.
And if there is hope for Peachtree Ridge here, look, they're going to start off this year 0-2. Look at the other side of the ball. Archer last year starts the season 0-3. They rack off 11 straight and wind up playing in the state championship game. So it's not over at all. It's still very early. I think Peachtree Ridge, once they get some of these top talented players back, they'll be in full swing.
Williams cuts it upfield to stay in bounds. Charles Toe make that, number 4. Coming up next, it's number 20 Chandler against Bishop Gorman, and we take a look at how this program has been built. Again, the school is only in its 7th season. They call themselves Team 7. And they just keep racking up the wins.
It's amazing. That first year, they essentially played a junior varsity schedule.
Good coverage there. Baylor Buchanan on Davis. Still looking to get to the number 1 receiver in the country, according to the ESPN 300. And he can't track it down, and he's hearing a ribbon from some of the support staff. And looks like he landed.
I think it's time to get that young man out of the game. Yeah. There's nothing to really gain at this point.
Clay with the fair catch inside the 20 with 6 minutes left to play. We'll step aside from Lawrenceville, Georgia, back to Archer Community Stadium after this. Welcome back to Georgia. There's a look at the Peachtree Ridge robotics team. They built that in class, and that shot T-shirts up into the crowd. And
look at that.
Rocky, you were impressed until you found out that they couldn't make it all the way up to the booth here. You were looking to get out of here with some swag.
Yeah, I was expecting a T-shirt to come flying through the window in the booth here. That's pretty impressive. A bunch of high school kids made that thing.
You would have shown your great pass coverage skills by knocking it away from me like Singleton.
Good hands, come on. And there's Dylan Singleton. We've been talking about him all game. He's played some offense. Obviously, his main position is safety on defense. He certainly had an impact tonight.
You know, looked like he had Duke on his eye black there, so a solid commitment there as we take another look. He made the announcement last week before the opener. So you talked about Coach Cutcliffe getting it done. 3 ESPN 300 recruits. That's pretty big time for Duke.
Yeah, he's done a good job in there. Coach Cutcliffe, Coach Peyton Manning and Eli Manning back in his Tennessee and Ole Miss days.
I remember being there for a lacrosse game when Peyton came back to work out. In secret, John Elway was somewhere in Durham. As Fred Payton takes over, I was wondering if we could get John Elway to come over and watch the lacrosse game. But then, speaking of quarterbacks, Hayward again.
Now that looks like a cramped face. You know, I mean, something might have locked up on him there.
There's a personal foul against Archer, but he's been limping throughout the second half. He's grabbing that area that would make you speculate and guess, which we shouldn't do, that it is indeed a cramp. I'm sure.
Yeah. It's usually when they're stretching that calf. That's usually what they're doing when he's got a hamstring or calf cramp. It's not terribly hot tonight, but it's still hot enough, and he's been running around an awful lot.
He's been running around. But you can see the athleticism and you can see the playmaking ability that the Lions are hoping for this year. Peyton airs it out, finds his man open for a big gain. That's Christian Sutton with the grab, no flags. So they are in Archer territory. 31-yard pickup.
I think it's always important. Look, this game, they're not going to win this game, but try to leave here with some sort of something positive going on offense. It's been a pretty dreadful night for them, but maybe they can get a little bit of rhythm, find out a few things about some guys, and take that in here in the week 3.
Now they give it to Jackson up the middle. Frank Finch in on the tackle. Quinn Miller once again. Six sacks last year as a sophomore. And I'm with you. I think his phone's going to start ringing a little bit more.
Absolutely. He showed some playmaking ability.
Now Peyton forced the scramble. And he is, still on his feet. Can't hook up with Christian Sutton, but at least he does not take the big loss on the sack.
Peyton, just a sophomore. It's good to get him some reps as just a young player.
Four and a half minutes left to play. 3rd and 9 for the Lions. An all too familiar sight for Coach Fleetwood and his ball club. Another false start penalty. Now you can talk about not getting a lot of work with Connor Hayward yet. They certainly haven't done a lot of work with Fred Payton, the sophomore. Get used to his cadence. $14 penalties for 110 yards. Now here comes pressure. Over the middle, low throw. Catch made by Clay. Well short of the first down, so that'll set up 4th down.
I'm still surprised they didn't try to get Chad Clay involved more. Even just give him a little bubble screen, just give him a one step, get the ball in a playmaker's hands that has great ability, and see if he can do something with it. I think if they could go back, they would probably try to do that a little more.
He's in the slot to the right. Peyton with time, steps up. Picks up with Sutton for the first down. So the Lions looking for their looking to get to the end zone here for the first time tonight. Peyton showing you a little something here. He's obviously getting a little bit more time than I think Hayward had to deal with.
Yeah, Archer, of course, is playing back. They're not pressuring quite as much, but still fairly impressive.
A little too much on that throw.
Hey, pass intended for number 23, Chad Clay. Incomplete.
One thing we've got to talk about, Amy, we talked about all the ranked players, the 14 players in the ESPN database, the 10 in the ESPN 300. Of those 14 ranked players, 8 are undeclared. You know, so a lot of tonight's performance and throughout the week, if you're a college football fan out there, you're watching this game or following these two teams this year, you want to, maybe they'll go to your school.
And Jackson is right up the middle with a burst. 11 yards on the run, and the Lions find the end zone. And the extra point is good. So the Lions put together a drive. Marquez Jackson with a strong run. Good job by the O-line. And it's a 16-point ball game.
Coming up next, more high school football for you. Tate Martell, the recent verbal commitment to Texas A&M, one of the best juniors in all the land. He and Bishop Gorman taking on Chandler out of Arizona next on ESPNU. Back to Archer.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. Looking forward to that one. Chandler, number 20, against Bishop Gorman. Gorman, of course, now coached by Kenneth Sanchez, who takes over for his brother Tony Sanchez. Back here in Georgia, the Archer fans celebrating what they think is going to be victory number 2 on the season, and Archer wants to get back on the programming schedule, working hard.
Lobbying, I like it.
Well, I tell you, with Kyle Davis, with Jamias Williams, just a junior, might have some interest.
Isaiah Pryor, he'll be back next year for him, so certainly could be. Not
really sure what the holdup is here for the kickoff. And the Geico ESPN High School Football Kickoff continues on ESPNU, and watch ESPN Sunday at 2 Eastern. It's a Sunshine State showdown as Miramar squares off against number 22 IMG. It's all a part of the Summer of Next, presented by Geico. There was a pipeline at one point from Miramar to West Virginia. Geno Smith being the headliner of that. Geno Smith, has he done anything? I can't remember. Has he done anything eventful? Oh, yeah, okay, never mind.
Yeah. He was in the news for the wrong reasons.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A look at Kyle Davis. So now the Tigers are expecting the onside kick with their hands team out there.
See Kyle Davis back there. Yeah, he's at the up back position.
And that's going to be well short. You gotta try it and work it out, but that did not get the bounce that they were looking for. Zaniel Phillips gonna have to work on that this week at practice. And now Clay and Buchanan and the defense will go back out there. 3:33 left to play.
Yeah, some Peachtree Ridge fans there, I think, hoping their team would play a little bit better tonight. But as I said, they'll get some guys back healthy, and once those guys get back, I think they'll be in good shape. Obviously, got to clean up some things, the penalties, and get that line blocking a little better.
So Bearden back out there with Williams, who gets the carry and gets inside the 40. Pickup of 2. Peachtree with 2 timeouts left if they elect to stop the clock. And you wonder, you always want to keep on competing, but with the injuries they've already sustained, even a player such as Darnell Jeffries, if you wonder if you want to sort of get this one over with.
Right. Especially we saw Nigel Warrior earlier with, I don't know if it was a hamstring or a cramping issue, something, but want to get out of here healthy.
There's Williams again, right up the gut. Well, we just heard Matt Schick talk about it. The Geico High School Football Kickoff continues tonight on ESPNU. Coming up next, it's number 20, Chandler, led by the number 4 wide receiver on the ESPN 300, N'Keal Henry, going up against Bishop Gorman. Tate Martell, the number 2 pocket passer in the ESPN Junior 300, who just verbal to Texas A&M. It's all part of the Summer of Next, presented by Geico, and also available on Watch ESPN. Anish Shroff and Ahmad Brooks will have the call on that one. Clock continues to run here.
I got the beef package back in.
On 3rd and 5. And toss it to Singleton. And he gets the first down and then goes out of bounds. Look, you see, I love it. The offensive lineman, the center, Taylor Stein, saying, "You got to stay in bounds, stay in bounds."
Smart player.
9-yard pickup. But
they were trying to get out of here, yeah.
That's right.
That offensive line has done a very good job in the second half.
I'm not going to argue with Taylor Stein. They keep the beef out there. And Bearden's going to keep it himself. And it looks like Peachtree Ridge knows that there are bigger battles down the road, and they're not going to take their 2 timeouts here. And what impressed you the most about Archer's performance here tonight?
I'll tell you what, I thought their defense was tremendous. You know, they came out there flying around, good defensive front. Quinn Miller had a fantastic game. Dylan Singleton in the secondary played very, very well. And obviously Kyle Davis. Look, we talked about him. He's the #1 wide receiver recruit. He had a pretty good game. A couple nice catches that he made look very, very easy. They were actually some pretty tough balls to grab.
Singleton headed to 20. And for the underman, Peachtree Ridge Club, who stood out to you?
Peachtree Ridge, you know, I thought Nigel Warrior played well. And I think Connor Hayward, the quarterback, will get better. He needs a little bit more time. I think he'll develop more and get more comfortable as a quarterback. The athleticism is certainly there. I think he was just dealing with, you know, lack of weapons out there. There wasn't much else for him to work with. Gibbs being hurt. A couple of those other guys nicked up as well.
They toss it to Williams on 3rd and 2. He gets the first down. And now he looks okay. At first it looked like he was a little slow to get up, but now he looks all right. But these running backs might need to learn to stay in bounds.
Yeah, that's something that as they get older they're going to have to learn to do. And there's Gibbs. You can see frustrated. He was not able to help his team tonight. He has that high ankle sprain he suffered last week. Coach Fleetwood, he coached Terrell Owens at one point in his career and said that D'Angelo Gibbs at this point is better than Terrell Owens was even in the early years of his college.
So there's a look at Quinn Miller, part of the beef package now, but he did most of his damage on defense, and he is tonight's most valuable player, brought to you by Geico.
Yeah, 7 tackles, the sack there. And he showed a lot of versatility. Blitzed well, got to the quarterback, but also tackled very well. We'll see a few highlights here. Good, just vision, reading there, finding the ball. Good linebackers, what do? They tackle. And then they also penetrate and come up and stick you. It's funny, all these Archer coaches yesterday were, okay, yeah, we know the ranked guys, but every one of them said, watch out for this Quinn Miller kid. He certainly showed up and had a great ball game tonight.
And that'll do it. So Archer gets a little payback after losing last year 14-10. They come back at home and win it this year 26-10. Bearded with a couple of big passing plays, and then the running game put it away.
Absolutely, yeah. Kyle Davis made some really nice plays on the perimeter, and then the second half, the offensive line wore Peachtree Ridge down, and that was a ball game.
Peachtree Ridge will have better days when they get 100%. They have some big-time players who were unable to go tonight, but it was all Archer. They hope this is the year they can make it back to the Georgia Dome and win a state championship. Once again, our final score in an all-Georgia affair, Coach Dyer's Archer Tigers win it 26-10 over Peachtree Ridge. Coming up, the 2015 Geico ESPN High School Football Kickoff as part of the Summer of Next, presented by Geico, continues. Chandler out of Arizona going up against Bishop Gorman out of Nevada. It's Anish Shroff and Ahmad Brooks on the call from the desert.